Captain Jake Morrison sat in the meeting room of the UES Darwin and tried to look nervous. He rubbed his hands together and shifted in his chair while watching the alien delegation enter through the main door. The lead alien was tall and blue, with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. Behind it came 3 more creatures from different species, each one looking more confident than the last. Ambassador Zixthara of the Hegemony Alliance moved with the kind of smooth grace that spoke of centuries of power. Its voice came through the translation device, as smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. Jake had studied this alien for months through hidden surveillance, but now he had to pretend he was seeing it for the first time. Captain Morrison, the alien, said while its glowing eyes looked him up and down like he was some kind of interesting pet. "We are pleased to finally meet with representatives of your young species." Jake stood up quickly and almost knocked over his chair in what looked like excitement, but was actually carefully practiced clumsiness. "Ambassador Zixthara, this is such an honor. We never dreamed we would meet beings as advanced as yourselves." Dr. Lisa Harper sat beside him and played her part perfectly. She stared at the aliens with wide eyes, and her mouth slightly open, like she could not believe what she was seeing. Her tablet showed basic notes about alien biology that any first-year student could have written. What the aliens could not see were the detailed psychological profiles and weakness assessments hidden in her neural implant. "Your species has made remarkable progress for such a primitive civilization," said another alien that looked like a cross between a lizard and a tree. "We have observed your recent achievements in faster-than-light travel. Very impressive for beings who only discovered fire a few thousand years ago." Commander Rick Chun nodded eagerly from his position near the wall. His uniform was clean, but not quite perfect, and his boots were slightly scuffed. Everything about his appearance screamed, trying too hard to impress. The aliens seemed to find this amusing, because several of them made sounds that the translator interpreted as gentle laughter. "We know our technology is very basic compared to yours," Jake said while looking down at his hands like he was embarrassed. "We hope we can learn from species as wise and powerful as the Hegemony Alliance." The lead alien made a gesture that seemed pleased. "That is exactly the attitude we hope to find. Your species shows great potential despite your obvious limitations. We have a proposal that we believe will benefit everyone involved." Lisa leaned forward and tried to look eager. "What kind of proposal?" "The Hegemony Alliance has existed for over 2,000 years, Zixthara explained while walking around the room like it owned the place. "We have brought peace and prosperity to 12 different species across hundreds of worlds. Now we would like to extend that same opportunity to humanity." Rick stepped forward, and his voice carried just the right amount of awe. "You mean we could join your alliance? Become part of galactic civilization?" "In a manner of speaking," said the lizard tree alien. "We call it client species status. You would provide certain resources and services to the alliance while we provide protection and access to selected technologies. Think of it as a partnership between a very experienced teacher and an eager student." Jake felt his stomach turn at the condescending tone, but kept his expression hopeful. "What kind of resources would you need from us?" The aliens exchanged looks that clearly said they thought humans were too stupid to understand the real meaning of their words. "Nothing too complicated," Zixthara said. "Raw materials from your mining operations. Some basic manufacturing capabilities. Perhaps some of your population could serve in support roles for our more advanced operations." Lisa pretended to take notes while actually recording every micro-expression and vocal pattern for later analysis. The aliens were being careful with their words, but their body language told the real story. They saw humans as a source of cheap labor and raw materials, nothing more. "And in return?" Jake asked. "Protection from the many dangers of space," said A third alien that looked like a walking crystal formation. Access to medical technologies that could extend your lifespans. Limited FTL travel capabilities for approved routes. Educational opportunities for your brightest individuals. Rick made a sound like he was trying not to gasp with excitement. That sounds incredible. When could we start? The alien seemed pleased with his reaction. Immediately, if you are willing to accept our terms. We have prepared standard client species agreements that have served everyone very well for centuries. Jake looked at Lisa and Rick like he was asking for their opinions. They both nodded enthusiastically, while their hidden communication implants carried a very different conversation. The real message was clear. These terms were exactly what Earth's strategists had predicted down to the smallest detail. We would be honored to accept, Jake said, while trying to sound like he could barely contain his excitement. This is beyond our wildest dreams. Zixthara produced a device that projected several screens of text in various alien languages. These are the standard agreements. Take all the time you need to review them. We understand that legal documents can be confusing for less advanced species. Lisa stood up and walked over to examine the screens. This is fascinating. I can barely understand the complexity of your legal systems. What she actually understood was that the contracts gave the hegemony complete control over human space, resources, and population movement while providing almost nothing real in return. The meeting continued for another hour with Jake asking simple questions that made him sound like an excited child getting his first look at the adult world. The aliens answered with the kind of patience adults show when explaining things to very young children. They clearly believed they were dealing with a species that had barely learned to tie its own shoes. When the meeting ended, Zixthara seemed very satisfied. We look forward to a long and profitable relationship, Captain Morrison. Your species will find that cooperation with the Hegemony Alliance brings many benefits. After the aliens left, Jake and his team maintained their act until they were certain no surveillance devices remained active. Only then did Rick allow himself a small smile. Did you see how they looked at our advanced communication equipment? Like we had just invented the wheel. Lisa shook her head while downloading her recordings to the ship's hidden analysis systems. They have no idea that we were monitoring their brain patterns, hormone levels, and subvocal communications throughout the entire meeting. I have enough data to write a complete psychological profile of their entire delegation. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the stars. 200 years of preparation, and they bought every bit of it. They see exactly what we want them to see, a primitive species grateful for the chance to serve their betters. The U.E.'s Darwin began its journey back to Earth, carrying news of humanity's successful integration into galactic society. What the Hegemony did not know was that their primitive new clients had been watching them for centuries, learning their weaknesses, and preparing for the day when the mask would finally come off. 6 months had passed since humanity officially joined the Hegemony Alliance as a client species. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Foreman Pete Williams watched his crew operate the noisy extraction equipment with practiced inefficiency. Massive drills ground slowly through the rocky surface while alien observers took notes on their data pads and shook their heads at human incompetence. Your workers are improving, said Kekstar, the Hegemony supervisor assigned to monitor human operations. The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles in what passed for approval. Last month they were only achieving 30% of standard efficiency. Now they have reached almost 40%. Pete wiped sweat from his forehead and tried to look embarrassed. We are doing our best, sir. Human workers are still learning proper techniques. Maybe in another year we will reach 50% efficiency. What Kekstar could not see were the quantum extractors working 3 kilometers below the surface. These machines harvested rare elements at rates that would have shocked the alien into unconsciousness. A crude surface operation was pure theater. Designed to hide the real mining that happened in spaces the hegemony did not even know existed. Pete's communication implant carried a steady stream of data from the hidden operation. His team had extracted enough rare minerals in the past week to build an entire fleet of advanced starships. The hegemony believed humans were barely capable of basic strip mining, while they actually possessed technology that could reshape matter at the atomic level. "Sir," called out Jenny Adams, one of Pete's engineers. She ran over with a tablet, showing readings that looked impressive to alien eyes, but were actually carefully manufactured fake data. "We found a new deposit that might increase our output by 5%. Kextar examined the readings and made approving clicks. "Excellent work. Your species shows great dedication to improvement. The Hegemony Council will be pleased with this progress report." 3 systems away, Admiral Grace Foster stood on the bridge of the UES Invisible Hand and watched hegemony patrol ships move through space like blind insects. Her flagship existed partially outside normal spacetime, making it completely invisible to every sensor system the aliens possessed. The bridge crew monitored dozens of alien vessels while remaining undetected. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Tom Baker from the sensor station, "the Hegemony Task Force near Wolf 359 is changing course. They are heading toward the human colony on New Boston." Grace studied the tactical display that showed every ship, station, and communication relay within 50 light years. Standard inspection visit, or something more interesting? "Looks routine, Admiral. They are bringing the usual mix of bureaucrats and military observers. But I am detecting some unusual equipment on their lead ship." Dr. Kevin Park stepped forward from his position at the Xenopsychology Station. His months of studying intercepted. Hegemony communications had revealed disturbing patterns in their behavior. "Admiral, I recommend we monitor this visit very carefully. My analysis of recent Council communications suggests they are moving to the next phase of their standard integration protocol." Grace turned to face the man who had become her most valuable advisor on alien behavior. "What kind of next phase?" "Every species the hegemony has absorbed follows the same pattern," Kevin explained while pulling up holographic displays of historical data. "First comes economic integration with generous terms, then gradual expansion of hegemony control over their territory. Finally, systematic population reduction through carefully planned accidents and disasters." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Grace had suspected the aliens were not being entirely honest about their intentions, but this was worse than expected. How long do species usually last before the hegemony decides they are no longer useful? Based on historical patterns, somewhere between 6 months and 2 years. Humans have been client species for exactly 6 months and 3 days. On New Boston, Senator Maria Santos walked through the colony's central district with her alien escort and tried to look suitably impressed by their guidance. The hegemony representative, a tall creature that looked like a walking flower, explained how proper city planning could improve human living conditions. "Your architecture shows promise," said Velanara while gesturing at the simple buildings around them. "With proper guidance, human settlements could become almost civilized within a few generations." Maria nodded eagerly and made notes on her primitive tablet. "We are so grateful for your wisdom. Perhaps you could show our engineers how to build better power systems. Our current ones seem to fail quite often." What Velanara did not know was that every building in the colony contained power systems that could have supplied energy to an entire hegemony world. The frequent failures were carefully orchestrated to maintain the illusion that humans struggled with basic technology. "I have brought technical advisors who can help with such simple problems," Velanara said, in the tone adults use when promising to fix a child's broken toy. Your species shows great eagerness to learn, even if your understanding is quite limited. Back on Earth, Dr. Nathan Cross led a team of scientists in what appeared to be humanity's desperate attempt to understand alien technology. His laboratory showcased their latest breakthrough, a power cell that could store almost 10% as much energy as standard hegemony equipment. Remarkable progress, said Dr. Zixmora, the alien scientific advisor assigned to help humans catch up to galactic standards. Your team has achieved in months what we expected would take years. Perhaps humans are not quite as primitive as initial assessments suggested. Nathan tried to look pleased while hiding his amusement. The power cell was deliberately constructed using reverse-engineered hegemony technology, made to look like humanity's best attempt at copying alien designs. His real research happened in facilities the aliens would never find, where human scientists had long ago surpassed every technology the hegemony possessed. We work very hard to learn from your examples, Nathan said while showing Zixmora readings that were impressive enough to seem like real progress, but primitive enough to avoid suspicion. Maybe someday we will understand even half of what your people know. The alien made sounds that indicated pleasure. With proper guidance and sufficient time, humans might eventually develop into a moderately advanced species. Your brains seem capable of basic learning, even if they work quite slowly. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Lieutenant Sarah Kim worked in Earth's most secret research facility on humanity's ultimate project. The consciousness transfer system had taken decades to develop and could map the complete thought patterns of any sentient being. Through careful analysis of captured hegemony personnel, humans now understood exactly how each alien species thought, felt, and made decisions. The psychological profiles are complete, Sarah reported to her supervisor through encrypted communication. We understand their decision-making processes better than they do. Every cultural bias, every emotional trigger, every logical blind spot has been mapped and analyzed. The facility's main computer contained detailed information about every member of the Hegemony Council, their personal fears, their political ambitions, and their individual weaknesses. When the time came to drop their act, humans would know exactly which buttons to push to achieve maximum psychological impact. Meanwhile, Dr. Elena Rodriguez reviewed medical reports from human colonies throughout hegemony space. What looked like random industrial accidents showed a clear pattern when analyzed properly. Mining equipment failures that specifically targeted human workers. Transport crashes that happened only when humans were aboard. Mysterious diseases that affected human physiology while leaving alien observers completely unharmed. They have started the population reduction phase, Elena reported to Earth's Leadership Council. The accidents are too specific and too frequent to be coincidental. The hegemony is testing our response while beginning systematic elimination of human colonists. The evidence was overwhelming. Every incident had been carefully planned to look accidental while reducing human numbers in ways that would not trigger immediate suspicion. The hegemony was following their standard protocol exactly as Kevin's analysis had predicted. Admiral Morrison received the reports while attending another diplomatic meeting with hegemony officials. His expression remained pleasant and grateful while his mind processed the implications. The time for pure observation was ending. Soon humanity would need to decide whether to continue the charade or reveal their true nature to a galaxy that was not prepared for what it would see. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning while Admiral Jake Morrison was reviewing fake reports about human mining efficiency. The Hegemony Council demanded that Earth surrender its most advanced military vessels for immediate inspection and technological upgrade. The request came wrapped in diplomatic language about mutual cooperation and shared defense, but the underlying threat was crystal clear. Jake sat in his office aboard the UES Darwin and tried to look worried while reading the official communication. His aide, Captain Bobby Turner, paced nervously around the room in a performance that would have won awards if any aliens were watching. "Admiral, this is a disaster," Bobby said while wringing his hands. "They want our best ships. If we refuse, they might think we are hiding something dangerous." Jake nodded slowly and rubbed his temples like a man facing an impossible decision. "We have no choice. Prepare the Lexington, the Concorde, and the Valley Forge for transfer to hegemony control. These are our finest vessels, and losing them will leave Earth almost defenseless." What the aliens did not know was that these 3 ships had been specifically designed for this moment. Each vessel represented humanity's most advanced reverse engineering project, built to appear as impressive human attempts at copying hegemony. Technology, while actually being primitive by true human standards. 2 days later, Chief Technician Vex Mora of the Hegemony Engineering Corps walked through the halls of the U. East Lexington with barely concealed contempt. The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles while examining human systems that seemed crude and inefficient compared to proper hegemony design. "Fascinating," Vex Mora said to its assistant while pointing at the ship's power core. "The humans have attempted to replicate our fusion containment systems, but their understanding is so limited that they achieved only basic functionality." The assistant, a slug-like creature named Poldak, made notes on its datapad. "Should we be concerned about their reverse engineering capabilities?" "Hardly," Vex Mora replied with sounds that indicated amusement. "Look at these power conduits. They have copied the appearance of our designs, but missed the underlying principles entirely. It is like watching children play with toys they do not understand." The aliens spent hours tearing apart every system aboard the 3 human ships. They mocked the weapons that could barely scratch hegemony armor. They laughed at engines that moved slower than obsolete hegemony cargo haulers. They found the defensive systems amusing because they could be defeated by any competent alien technician with basic tools. "This confirms our initial assessment," Vex Mora reported to the Hegemony Council later that day. "Human technology is primitive beyond our worst expectations. These vessels represent their absolute best engineering achievements, yet they would be helpless against even our oldest patrol ships." On Earth, Dr. Nathan Cross received detailed reports about the alien inspection through hidden monitoring systems built into every surrendered vessel. The aliens had behaved exactly as predicted, dismissing human capabilities while revealing their own technological limitations and tactical thinking patterns. "They found nothing suspicious because we gave them nothing suspicious to find," Nathan explained to his research team. "Every component was designed to look like humanity's best attempt at understanding hegemony science while actually being generations behind our real capabilities. The real breakthrough came from studying how the aliens examined human technology. Their methods revealed fundamental blind spots in hegemony thinking. They looked for specific design patterns and dismissed anything that did not match their expectations. This meant they would never recognize truly advanced human technology, even if they saw it directly." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sarah Kim completed the final phase of humanity's consciousness mapping project. The analysis of captured hegemony personnel had provided complete psychological profiles of every major alien species in the Alliance. Humans now understood their enemies better than the aliens understood themselves. "The data is remarkable," Sarah reported during a secure briefing. "Each species has predictable reaction patterns to specific stimuli. The Vextari become paralyzed by displays of superior technology. The Mordani respond to challenges against their authority with blind rage. The Polanaki can be manipulated through appeals to their sense of ancient honor." Earth's leadership studied these profiles while planning for the confrontation they knew was coming. Every alien weakness had been cataloged and analyzed. When humanity finally revealed its true nature, they would know exactly how to maximize the psychological impact on each species. The situation escalated when reports arrived from the agricultural world of New Kansas. What the hegemony called a routine systems Malfunction had killed 30,000 human colonists when their atmospheric processors suddenly failed. The alien investigation team declared it an unfortunate accident caused by human incompetence in maintaining complex equipment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez examined the incident data and found clear evidence of sabotage. The failures were too specific and too coordinated to be accidental. Someone had deliberately programmed the processors to fail in ways that would maximize human casualties while leaving alien observers completely unharmed. This was not an accident, Elena reported to Earth's Emergency Council. The failure patterns show sophisticated knowledge of human biology and atmospheric requirements. The hegemony engineered this disaster and tried to make it look like our own incompetence. Similar incidents had been occurring across human space with increasing frequency. Mining equipment malfunctions that crushed human workers. Transport ship explosions that happened only when humans were aboard. Disease outbreaks that affected human immune systems while leaving alien advisors mysteriously immune. Admiral Grace Foster reviewed the casualty reports from her hidden command ship and felt her patience finally reaching its limit. The hegemony had moved beyond exploitation into active genocide, and they were doing it with the arrogance of adults swatting annoying insects. How many more humans are we supposed to let them kill while we maintain this charade? Asked her Chief of Staff, Commander Luke Harris. Grace stared at the tactical displays showing hegemony, fleets moving through space like they own the galaxy. The Council has authorized me to deliver our first and final warning. If they ignore it, the masquerade ends, and they see what humanity really looks like when we stop pretending to be harmless. President Helen Clark convened an emergency session of Earth's Leadership Council to discuss the response. The debate was brief because everyone understood what was at stake. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, and the time for pretending had finally come to an end. We give them one chance to stop the killing, the President decided. One clear warning delivered in terms they cannot misunderstand. If they choose to ignore it, then we drop the act and show them exactly what kind of species they have been trying to exterminate. Admiral Morrison received his orders while the aliens continued their inspection of captured human vessels. Soon he would stand before the Hegemony Council and deliver words that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The only question was whether the aliens would be smart enough to listen or too arrogant to recognize the danger they had created for themselves. Admiral Jake Morrison stood before the massive viewport of the Hegemony flagship Dominion's Edge and tried to look properly intimidated by its size. The ship stretched for kilometers in every direction, bristling with weapons that the aliens considered the pinnacle of military engineering. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Harper clutched her datapad with nervous fingers, while Commander Rick Chun stayed close to the wall like a man afraid of breaking something valuable. The Hegemony Council chamber occupied the ship's central section, a vast space designed to make visitors feel small and helpless. Representatives from all 12 member species sat in elevated positions that forced anyone addressing them to look upward. The lighting was deliberately harsh, and the temperature was kept uncomfortably cold for human comfort. Council leader Mordak, a creature that looked like a walking crystal formation, activated the chamber's translation systems with obvious impatience. Admiral Morrison, you have requested this emergency meeting to discuss recent industrial accidents affecting human colonies. We hope your concerns can be addressed quickly because the Council has many important matters to consider. Jake stepped forward, and his demeanor shifted in ways so subtle that most aliens missed the change entirely. His shoulders straightened slightly. His voice lost the nervous tremor that had characterized every previous interaction. His eyes focused with the intensity of a predator evaluating prey. Council Leader Mordak, esteemed members of the Hegemony Alliance, Jake began in a tone that carried quiet authority. I am here to discuss what you call industrial accidents, but what we have identified as deliberate acts of sabotage and mass murder. The council chamber fell silent. Several aliens made sounds of surprise or outrage at the accusation. Ambassador Zixthara leaned forward in its seat, with eyes that glowed brighter than usual. "Admiral Morrison, you seem to have forgotten your place," Zixthara said in a voice that dripped with threat. "Client species do not make accusations against their protectors. Perhaps the stress of recent events has affected your judgment." Rick stepped forward, and his earlier nervousness had vanished completely. "Our judgment is functioning perfectly. We know exactly what you have been doing, and exactly why you are doing it." Chief Technician Vexmora clicked its mandibles in what passed for laughter. "And what exactly do you think you know, Primitive?" Dr. Harper opened her data pad and began reading from it with clinical precision. The atmospheric processor failure on New Kansas was caused by a quantum virus specifically, designed to target human-compatible life support systems. The mining equipment failures on Kepler 442b used remote override codes that only hegemony personnel possess. The transport explosions near Wolf 359 were triggered by devices that emit radiation signatures matching hegemony military explosives. The aliens exchanged glances that clearly communicated their surprise at the level of detail in the human analysis. Council Leader Mordak made a gesture that demanded silence from the other representatives. "Even if we accept your wild theories," Mordak said slowly, "what possible response could a primitive species like humanity make to such accusations?" Jake smiled for the first time since entering the chamber, and several aliens shifted uncomfortably at the expression on his face. "This is your first and final warning. Cease these attacks immediately, or we will be forced to drop the act." The chamber erupted in sounds that the translator interpreted as laughter, outrage, and disbelief. Vexmore rose from its seat and pointed one of its many arms at Jake. "What act? What possible threat could your pathetic species pose to the might of the Hegemony Alliance? Your best warships are toys that we could destroy with mining equipment. Your technology is so primitive that we use it as examples of what not to build." Lisa stepped forward, and her tablet projected a three-dimensional map of hegemony space that showed details no human sensor should have been able to detect. Map highlighted dozens of locations with precision that made several council members gasp in recognition. "These coordinates represent your primary military installations, government facilities, and industrial centers," she said while zooming in on specific targets. "Hegemony High Command on Vextar Prime, the Central Intelligence Hub on Morgani Station, the primary shipyard complex orbiting Pawanaki, the Strategic Weapons Research Facility in the Zixthara system." The aliens stared at the display with growing alarm. The coordinates were accurate down to individual buildings and defensive positions. Some of the locations were classified so highly that only council members were supposed to know they existed. "Impossible," whispered Polduck, the slug-like representative. "Our security is absolute. No external species has ever penetrated our intelligence networks." Rick activated his own device, and the chamber filled with recordings of private hegemony communications, classified military reports, and personal conversations between council members. The aliens heard their own voices discussing plans for human elimination, debates about population reduction quotas, and casual conversations about the best methods for hiding genocide. "We have been listening to everything you say and watching everything you do," Rick explained while the recordings continued to play. "Every secret facility, every classified project, every private conversation between council members has been monitored and analyzed." Ambassador Zixthara rose from its seat with movements that spoke of barely controlled rage. "Even if this is true, what do you propose to do with this information? Alert the other client species? Rally them to rebellion? We have crushed a dozen such attempts over the centuries." Jake's expression remained calm, while he delivered the words that would be remembered across the galaxy. "We propose that you stop killing humans immediately. End all population reduction activities. Cease all sabotage operations. Withdraw your military forces from human space." The council chamber filled with sounds of alien amusement. Several representatives made gestures that clearly indicated they thought humans had lost their minds. "And if we refuse?" asked Council Leader Mordak with the tone adults use when humoring delusional children. "Then we drop the act," Jake repeated. "We stop pretending to be the primitive species you think we are. We show you what humanity actually looks like when we are not playing games." Vex Mora clicked its mandibles in obvious contempt. "Your threats are meaningless. We have seen your technology. We have examined your best warships. You possess nothing that could threaten even our oldest patrol vessels." Lisa closed her tablet and looked directly at the alien engineer. "You examined exactly what we wanted you to examine. You saw precisely what we wanted you to see. You found nothing dangerous because we showed you nothing dangerous." The implication hung in the air while the aliens tried to process what they were hearing. The idea that humans might be more advanced than they appeared was so contrary to their observations that most council members dismissed it immediately. "You have 72 hours, Jake announced while turning toward the chamber's exit. "Stop the killing or face the consequences of learning what humans are really capable of." As the human delegation prepared to leave, Council Leader Mordak made one final attempt to reassert hegemony authority. "You will apologize for these insults immediately and submit to immediate military occupation of all human worlds. This is your final opportunity to avoid total annihilation." Jake paused at the chamber's entrance and looked back at the assembled aliens with something that might have been pity. 72 hours. Use that time wisely. The Hegemony Council watched the humans depart while debating whether to laugh at their audacity or be insulted by their obvious delusions of significance. 72 hours passed without any response from humanity. The Hegemony Council had expected groveling apologies and desperate pleas for mercy, but the silence from human space was complete and absolute. Council Leader Mordak authorized operation. Discipline with the casual indifference of someone swatting an annoying insect. The largest hegemony battle fleet in recorded history emerged from hyperspace around Earth's position, ready to make an example that would keep other client species obedient for centuries. Admiral Kexvoran commanded 300 dreadnoughts, each one capable of reducing a planet to molten rock within hours. Behind them came support fleets carrying occupation forces and administrators who would reshape human civilization according to hegemony standards. "Begin planetary bombardment," Kexvoran ordered while settling into his command chair aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion. "I want every human military installation destroyed within the first 10 minutes. Show them what happens when primitives forget their place." The weapons officers activated their targeting systems and waited for final confirmation to begin the attack. The fleet arranged itself in perfect formation around Earth's orbital position, ready to demonstrate the overwhelming power of galactic civilization against a species that had dared to threaten its masters. But when the targeting sensors focused on Earth's location, they found nothing. Not destroyed cities or fleeing ships or desperate defensive positions. Not even debris from a destroyed planet. There was simply empty space where Earth should have been, as if the planet had never existed at all. Admiral Kexvoran stared at his tactical display in complete confusion. Navigation error. "We must be in the wrong system. Recalculate our position immediately." The navigation officers ran diagnostics and confirmed their location with mounting panic. This was definitely the Sol system. The sun was exactly where it should be. The other planets maintained their proper orbits. But Earth itself had vanished without leaving any trace of its former existence. "Admiral," reported the sensor officer, with a voice that shook with disbelief. "I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Whatever removed Earth is still active and operating on a scale beyond our measurement capabilities." Before Kex Voren could respond, every communication channel on every ship in the fleet activated simultaneously. The voice that spoke was calm, friendly, and completely impossible according to every law of physics the hegemony understood. "Admiral Kex Voren, Council Leader Mordak, and esteemed members of the Hegemony Alliance," said Admiral Grace Foster while her image appeared on screens. "Throughout the alien fleet, thank you for accepting our invitation to witness the end of the masquerade. My name is Admiral Grace Foster of the Earth Defense Forces, and I believe some explanations are in order." The aliens tried frantically to block the transmission or trace its source, but their efforts were completely useless. The signal bypassed every security system and defense protocol as if they did not exist. "You are probably wondering where Earth went." Grace continued with the patient tone of a teacher addressing confused students. "The answer is simple. We moved it. Your planet is now safely located in a pocket dimension where your weapons cannot reach it and your sensors cannot detect it." Kex Voren found his voice after several seconds of stunned silence. "Impossible. No known technology can relocate an entire planet. You are using some kind of illusion or projection system." Grace smiled with genuine amusement. "You are correct that no known technology can do this. The key word is known. You never bothered to learn what humanity was actually capable of because you were so convinced we were primitive. That was your first mistake." Throughout hegemony space, similar scenes played out as human ships began appearing around every major alien installation. These vessels bore no resemblance to the crude machines the aliens had examined months earlier. They moved through space like living things, shifting between dimensions and manipulating reality in ways that made hegemony engineers weep with despair. Every human colony, every mining station, every diplomatic outpost you thought you were monitoring was an elaborate fake. Grace explained while holographic displays showed the truth behind humanity's deception. Automated systems perfectly mimicked human activity, while our real expansion remained completely invisible to your primitive sensors. The hegemony fleet tried to retreat, but discovered that hyperspace itself had been locked down around their position. Their ships were trapped in normal space, with no way to escape or call for reinforcements. "We have been watching you for over 3 centuries, Grace continued. "Not 50 years as you believed, but 300 years of careful observation and analysis. We learned your languages, studied your technology, and mapped every weakness in your civilization before we ever made contact." Council Leader Mordak appeared on the communication channel with crystals that flickered rapidly with what humans had learned indicated extreme agitation. "What do you want? What are your terms for ending this demonstration?" Grace's expression became more serious as she addressed the real purpose of humanity's revelation. "We want you to stop being the monsters you have become. Your pattern of integration, exploitation, and extermination ends now. No more client species, no more population reduction, no more genocide disguised as industrial accidents." "Admiral," Kex Voren tried to regain some authority in the situation. "You cannot threaten the entire Hegemony Alliance. We control thousands of worlds and dozens of species. Even if you possess advanced technology, you cannot fight everyone." "We do not need to fight everyone," Grace replied, while tactical displays showed human ships appearing throughout hegemony space. "We only need to demonstrate that fighting us would be completely pointless." 12 precision strikes hit 12 targets across hegemony space in perfect coordination. The weapons did not explode or destroy their targets. Instead, they simply rewrote the atomic structure of whatever they touched, transforming weapons facilities into flowering gardens, turning military academies into libraries, and converting warship construction yards into art galleries. We could have destroyed every military installation you possess, Grace explained while the aliens watched their strongest fortifications become beautiful but useless decorations. We chose to create something beautiful instead. That should tell you something important about the kind of species you decided to try to exterminate. The demonstration continued as human ships revealed technology that operated beyond the aliens. Understanding of physics, matter conversion, dimensional manipulation, consciousness transfer, and reality modification on scales that reduced hegemony science to the level of children playing with simple tools. Your terms are simple, Grace announced while projecting the new galactic order that humanity would enforce. Immediate cessation of all hostile activities against any species. Democratic reforms across all hegemony territory. Reparations for species you have damaged or destroyed. Submission to monitoring by human peacekeeping forces. Council leader Morduck made sounds that indicated complete defeat. And if we refuse? Grace's smile returned, but now it carried implications that made the most aggressive hegemony warriors. Consider immediate surrender. Then we stop being patient teachers and become something you really do not want to meet. The great deception was over. Humanity stepped out from behind their mask of primitive harmlessness and revealed themselves as the most advanced species the galaxy had ever produced. The Hegemony Alliance, stripped of their arrogance and faced with technology that made their greatest achievements look like cave paintings, began to understand that they had encountered something unprecedented. The galaxy entered a new age under the guidance of beings who had spent centuries learning to hide their true nature behind carefully crafted illusions of weakness. The former masters became students, and their teachers proved to be both more powerful and more merciful than anyone had dared imagine possible.